So I'm joined now by Gwen Foss to talk all about CPR Awareness Week. Gwen, you have a lot of titles and a lot that you do, all sort of centered around heart health. Tell us a little bit about your current position.
Currently, I am the clinical outreach specialist for Mott Children's Hospital's Congenital Heart Center at University of Michigan. And part of that work is working with the Department of Health and Human Services for heart safe schools, making sure that we really support schools and having a plan to address a cardiac emergency. We know that in 2024, we know of at least 9 cases of sudden cardiac arrest in schools in Michigan that resulted in survivors because the school responded well.
Wow.
So we're anxious to keep having schools, more schools become designated as heart-safe schools. Sudden cardiac death is a leading cause of death in the United States, about 350,000 people a year. So it is more of a problem than some kinds of cancer, strokes. So if more people know CPR, we could improve things.
Yeah.
Right now, somebody who has a sudden cardiac arrest outside of a hospital, less than half of them will get CPR performed. And only about 1 out of 10 will survive. But we could double or triple that rate of survival. And that's why University of Michigan, Mott Children's Hospital, Project ATOM, which is a national organization that we are an affiliate of, and the American Heart Association, Wes Leonard's Heart Team, and so many others are working to increase the ability for more people to learn CPR and be lifesavers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was telling you before we started that I used to be CPR trained. I went through an American Red Cross class as a teenager when I was doing a lot of babysitting, but I honestly couldn't really remember what I learned. So I was excited for you to come in. And it was, you know, so many people have that training, but then so many people don't. I mean, in your experience, is it really not that common that folks are CPR trained?
Well, I think there's a couple ways to look at it. We, definitely healthcare professionals, people on a cardiac emergency response team, coaches, that we really recommend the certification process that is more involved, that includes breathing as well as compressions for the heart. But for the general public, what's really important is making sure that we're continuing to circulate blood so that that oxygen can get to the vital organs and therefore help the victim have a better chance of both survival as well as decent neurological outcome. And we know we could really help with more immediate CPR. And it also then puts the victim often in a better position once a defibrillator, because an AED or a defibrillator is ideally present somewhere close by. And once that gets there, if you've been continuing to circulate the blood by doing compressions, there's a better chance that you would be able to shock the heart and stop the chaotic electricity that's causing the problem and allow the heart to have its own good rhythm restart.
And for people who are hearing this, it's so important. It can make such a difference. But oh my goodness, what does training look like? What do I need to do? I'm overwhelmed. What is your kind of response to that about, how helpful this can be and, how people can learn quickly?
Well, for somebody like you who's been certified in the past, the most important thing is for you not to hesitate. If you don't try, they will die. So what we want is to have more people that, whether they've been trained or not, to feel comfortable pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest. They don't have a chance unless somebody responds.
Someone does something.
So should we do a demo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We've got your...
And you want the victim to be on a hard surface because when you're compressing the chest, you don't want to be compressing a mattress instead. That won't really help. So if you see somebody suddenly collapse, they could have some weird breaths for a minute that can be confusing, or they might have a little shaking that looks a little bit like a seizure. But if they remain unresponsive, the best thing you can do is think sudden cardiac arrest and we need to do something. And if they don't need CPR, they'll tell you because it does not feel good if you were conscious. So, but you want to think call, push, shock.
Call, push, shock.
So you're going to call 911. and yell for anybody around you to help you.
Yeah.
And you're going to be pushing on the chest, and somebody should get a defibrillator if there's one in the vicinity.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
So,
we can hop down.
All right, and we're gonna shake them, make sure are they unresponsive? Yes,
Make
this
sure.
one. And we're not checking a pulse, we're not doing any of that stuff that is in the more official certification of CPR.
Gotcha.
If you know how to check a pulse, do it. If not, go for it.
Okay.
So we're gonna put our hand, the heel of our hand and one on top of it, in the center of the chest, right between the nipple line. We want to push about a depth of about 2 inches, and we'd like to have a rate of about 100 to 120 beats per minute. So you can do it to Baby Shark.
Baby Shark or Staying
Still
Alive,
Alive.
right?
Yeah, there's a whole playlist.
Yeah.
American Heart has a whole playlist of songs, so whatever, and I'm not going to sing because that would not be good. So, but we're going to push hard and fast, and you can hear a little click here.
Yeah.
That means I'm getting the compression far enough. Not all the clickers work, so if yours isn't
Oh, so
clicking,
maybe
don't
I'm not
worry.
pushing hard enough.
Or it may be the mannequin. But you want to keep your elbows stiff because that helps you have strength. And you want to make sure you don't keep the chest partially compressed, but that you
wanna
let
come
it
up all
up.
the way.
Keep
Okay.
your hands on the chest, but relax the compression. And it's a lot of work.
I want to try yours with the clicker to see if I'm
let's
pressing
do
hard
that.
enough. You know, I'm going to take this ring off too. Okay, let me try again.
Okay, yeah, you got
Oh, I wasn't
press a
pressing
little
hard enough. Okay,
harder.
good to know. Hold on. All right.
Get the heel of your hand right there. You go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's right over the breastbone.
Yeah.
Obviously, these mannequins have nice little markings that most chests do
Right.
not have. But, and I think, another thing is sometimes people are fearful of doing CPR on a woman. We know that women get CPR less often than men.
Gotcha.
The same thing with children. Really do whatever you need to do to make them stay alive.
Absolutely. And I think another question, we were talking about this in the newsroom, is am I going to break somebody's ribs? What if I hear, I know that's a tough thought to think about, but is that common? Is that something that should be worried about?
It is more common in older victims just because of the way bones are, and just like for children and young people, there's more elasticity and flexibility. But if you
hop back on the couch for a second, you want?
if you do break a rib and saved a life,
I mean,
is that okay? Yes. So there are sometimes reports that people would rather have not had CPR. Well, maybe those are people that have a life-threatening illness and they haven't gone about creating a plan for that. So if you don't know any plan other than
you want to do it.
Yes.
And I know you were saying, a second ago, it's interesting to do it, and you're kind of out of breath. Like you got, it's a
work.
strenuous, exercise. So it's tough. You're pushing hard for sure.
And so
I was pushing a lot harder than I thought
Yeah.
I needed, or I wasn't pushing as hard as I thought I needed to be pushing.
Yeah. That's why if you're the bystander that comes along, be sure to try to help them and relieve each other, because it is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, especially, depending on who it is and who you are and all of that. And so like you said, calling 911 first, starting that, and then, hopefully there's an AED nearby and you can grab that, and that is ultimately, a step up from you manually compressing.
Yes, there are occasions where there will be return of circulation without an AED, but typically that's not, you're way better assured with an AED or defibrillator. So, and you can't hurt somebody with a defibrillator.
Gotcha.
So
that's a good thing to know.
Yes, it will not shock unless it's a shockable rhythm.
Okay.
The AEDs are smarter than a lot of us,
And they typically talk you through all the steps and where to put everything.
So if you've never used one and all of a sudden you're in a position that you might need to, unzip it, turn it on, let it tell you what to do.
Gotcha. And I know that there can be, obviously there's more official training that can be done. I know it can be different, obviously, with a baby or something.
Yes, for sure.
Those sorts of trainings, if someone wants to know all of that, wants to be really expertly trained, what do you recommend as far as online, in person? I know we have lots of resources here in the community.
Yes. If you want to be certified, that is a more of an in-person part to that. For the hands-only CPR, there are a number of videos you can watch. one that happens to go to the tune of Let's Go Blue, but, but there's also a lot on the American Heart Association website. And you're absolutely right that for children it can be different. We know that the breathing part of it is more important for little children than it is for the rest of us.
Gotcha.
So we would encourage, considering that. I think you can watch things online and learn a whole lot about doing it. In an ideal world, you get a chance to actually do it on a mannequin, because like you experienced.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I think my clicker's broken. Turns out, no, I wasn't pushing nearly hard enough.
Yeah.
And the official certification that you're talking about, is that just a more in-depth version of this? This is helpful, but that is more complex, kind of,
yes, it is. Then you're talking more about the pathophysiology and taking a pulse and the breathing and how to position the head for breathing.
This is helpful, but that's an even more advanced version that I guess could be more helpful.
And then, but what you hope is that an immediate bystander who happens to be there can start the CPR.
Yeah.
Then when the first responders, EMS,
they can take
whomever,
over.
Yes. So, the more you can learn to do the initial piece, the better chance you have that when the first responders get there, they have a chance.
They're in better shape.
And we can get
better shape.
Yeah, we can get that patient to the hospital. We're always grateful.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, for people who are seeing this and think, oh, that's not going to happen to me. I don't know anybody with heart problems. I don't have anybody older in my life. What's your word to them on, at least knowing what we just did here, but even taking it a step further? What's just your push to folks?
Yeah, I mean, we know that there were 9 cases in schools this year. Most cases of out-of-hospital cardiac arrest happen in the home. So having somebody in your home who knows CPR, having a plan for your home.
Right.
The plans that the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has through My Heart Safe Schools and that Project Adam has for schools really can be adapted to a church, a workplace, a sports venue, whatever.
Wherever you can hang out and do stuff. Yeah.
And if you do that plan, and if anybody was watching the NFL football game when Damar Hamlin had a sudden cardiac arrest, clearly that Buffalo Bills had a plan.
Yeah.
They knew what.
And I mean, healthy, fit, young guy, and we saw that happen to him. So.
Yes.
And if you never have to use it, great. You never have to use it. But
absolutely.
on the off chance that you do, you know what to do. Okay.
Yes.
Gwen, this was so helpful. I learned a lot. I'm definitely going to watch some more videos, and we're going to be posting resources from the American Heart Association up on our website as well, so that, just if folks want to learn more, they can do so.
And there is a website, Heart Safe Homes, so you could look at it for thinking about what you could do in your home too. And of course, the Department of Health and Human Services for the Heart Safe Schools is great. We are looking at applications right now and are hoping for a lot more schools to be designated this year.
Great. The more we know is always so helpful. Okay, Gwen, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah,
we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back talking about that veteran tax exemption program.